A very good morning, my dear students. In the previous video session, we had learnt till the different kinds of the sources of energies and how we can judiciously use those energies so that they do not get exploited further and not being left for any future generation. Today we will be learning about the production of the electricity from the solar energy, the energy that is there in the sun, that is called the solar energy, and we can harvest that energy and convert it to electricity by using a solar cell, or also we can further generate electricity in solar power plants, that is in industries. This can be done in households also. Now, what is the concept behind it? The concept is about the solar panel. Now, this solar panel has this single solar cells, and these are usually made up of the semiconductors. Now, these semiconductors are somewhat different from metals. Their conductivity is not that much strong than like that of the metals, but it is much more than that of the insulators. Now, why are we using the semiconductors and not the metals? Because it has been found that with the increase in temperature or with the presence of some impurities, the conductivity of the semiconductors increases. Okay, so that is why we are not using any metal but rather semiconductors such as silicon or gallium. Okay, now what happens when sunlight falls on these solar cells, and with the presence of the impurities, there is a potential difference that is created across the ends. We have learnt about potential difference a bit in the previous class, though we'll learn again, but just for now, just remember that it creates a potential difference which is necessary for the conduction of electricity. Okay, now a single solar cell of area of 4 centimeters square is capable of almost producing a potential difference of 0.4 volt to 0.5 volt, and due to which 60 milliampere current can be produced. Okay, and if large amount of solar energy falls on these solar cells, then more amount of electricity can be generated. However, there is a difficulty, that is the electricity can be generated as long as the sunlight falls on this solar cells, and to overcome this there is a battery that is being used, a storage battery, okay, or a secondary cell, and thus by this the electricity can be provided even at night. Okay, now this kind of batteries and solar panels are especially used in the artificial satellites, okay, and also for running the water pumps, street lighting, then radio, street lighting, not television sets, in remote control areas, especially where setting up the electricity lines have not yet been started, or in areas which are still inaccessible, isolated areas. There the solar panels can be used for producing electricity and running different gadgets. Okay, now what are the advantages of using the solar panels? Firstly, they do not require any maintenance. They can last for long period of time. Their running cost is almost nil. That means it is so less that we consider them as nil. They are almost most importantly, they can be used in remote, inaccessible and isolated areas, and furthermore they do not cause any pollution, which we see in case of producing electricity from coal. It produces a huge pollution. Okay, it causes huge pollution. Now, what are the disadvantages? Firstly, the initial cost of setting up the solar panel is sufficiently high, though the maintenance is low, but the initial cost of installing it is high. Now the efficiency of the conversion of the solar energy to the electricity is low. Now why is the efficiency low? Because it must be set up in places where there is much sunlight, especially in tropical areas. Otherwise, in other areas, if there is not much sunlight, then the efficiency of the conversion of the solar energy to electricity becomes low. Again, it produces DC current, that is direct current electricity, and DC current cannot be used directly for household appliances. We need to use AC current. Now why is this so? We will be learning this in the next class, but just remember till now. Now again, a solar power plant. Now what is a solar power plant? A solar power plant is nothing but it is a device, okay, where not the light energy of the sun, but the heat energy of the sun is used to generate the electricity, okay. Now what happens, the sun rays are made to fall on a large concave reflector. Now we have learnt this in the previous class as well, that concave surfaces act as converging, isn't it? It converges the light rays to a particular point that is at its principal focus, and at the principal focus, if water is kept, then the heat energy gets focused on that particular point, and that much heat energy which were otherwise scattered, but now it is being able to concentrate at a particular point, can be used to boil water, understood, and produce steam. And thus the steam will rotate the steam turbine, and with the help of the generator, electricity can be produced. Now such a solar power plant is there in Gurgaon in Haryana, and it has a capacity of 50 kilowatt, okay. Now, so this was about producing electricity from solar energy. Now is about producing electricity from wind energy. Now it is very much evident that to produce electricity from wind, it must be set up in a place where there is high speed wind blowing, okay. Not less than 50 km per hour, but it should be more than 50 km per hour. And most importantly, a large area of land is necessary for setting up the wind turbines, and it is very much expensive, okay. Now how is it created? It is done by using this windmills. That is, it has a blade, and when the wind blows, it rotates the blades. That means rotational kinetic energy is produced, or is produced in the blades. Now this further is used in this electric generator, okay. So the rotation of the blades rotates this armature of the generator, which is being placed between this two electrical fields, magnetic fields, I'm sorry, and thus electricity is generated. Now how do this electric generator works, and how is electricity being generated? This also you will learn in the next class in the electromagnetism chapter. So just for now, you just need to learn this setup only, and not more than that. Now the electrical power which is generated by a single windmill is generally small. So to generate a sufficient amount of electric power, a large amount or a large number of wind generators need to be arranged, and that too on a big area, and that area should be open, not used for any other purpose. So the electric power then generated by each generator on combining thus can then be used by the consumers. Is such wind power plant is there in India, where more than 1200 megawatt of electric power is generated, and that is located in the coastal areas of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. And now it is being planned to produce electric power up to 20,000 megawatt in our country by the use of the wind energy. Now, what are the advantages? Again, it is pollution free and it is a renewable source, especially in those areas where there is a much amount of wind. Now, what are the limitations? Firstly, a wide patch of land must be used. A wide patch of land must be used, and that land cannot be used for any other purpose. Secondly, the setup of the wind farm is very much expensive. And thirdly, the most important point is the speed of the wind must not be less than 15 kilometer per hour. So getting the wind of a speed of 15 kilometer per hour always is not possible, and it is not always possible to guesstimate that what would be the speed of the wind. So the generation of the electricity, the amount of the electricity cannot be guessed previously. Okay. Next is the production of the electricity from water. Especially for that, dams are constructed, which we all know. That is, the water from the river is obstructed and it is being stored in the dam. Now, the concept behind it is the water that is stored in the dam has the gravitational potential energy because of its high altitude. Right? Now, when the water is being made to fall or release from the dam, the gravitational potential energy of the water slowly starts converting into kinetic energy as it moves. And that kinetic energy rotates the shaft. That means rotational kinetic energy is generated, and which is attached to the armature of the electric generator, again similarly as we have seen in case of the windmills. Okay, and the two terminals, between these two terminals which is being placed in the magnetic fields, electricity is generated from this rotational kinetic energy because of the movement of this armature. Okay, now this is this hydroelectric plant that is being shown here is actually a small one, where the dam nearly has a height of 10 meter. Now, at present in India, hydroelectricity is generated by only 23% till now. Most of the electricity is generated from coal till now. But however, it is being still planned that it will be increased so that this much amount of electrical energy can be produced from flowing water. Now, advantages again, it does not produce any environmental pollution. Next, it is also a renewable source of energy. And the dams that is constructed over the rivers, the water that is stored in the dams is not only used for producing electricity, but also it is used for irrigation and the control of floods in areas. However, there are certain limitations. That is, the flowing water may not be available every time, depending on the change of the seasons, change of the weather conditions, etc. And however, due to the construction of the dams, the rivers, plants and animals in that particular area needs to be destroyed or killed. So in this way, ecosystem of a particular place is actually needs to be destroyed for construction of the dam. So this creates an ecological imbalance. Again, the dams that are created with that huge amount of water exerts the unnecessary pressure on the ground. That is being thought of one of the reasons behind the earthquakes. Maybe. Okay. The final one is the production of the electricity from nuclear energy. Okay. So this is a nuclear power plant. Now what happens in a nuclear power plant? Through these cadmium rods, the uranium or plutonium, okay, such heavy elements are used, and in this there is a chain reaction. Now what is a chain reaction? Here, since the atom is big, 235, you can imagine the atom of the uranium and plutonium will be very much big in comparison to other elements known. Now when their nucleus is bombarded, their heavy nucleus splits, and that heavy nucleus in turn goes on splitting the other uranium, or if plutonium used, goes on splitting the other uranium nucleus, and this goes on, and that is why it is being termed as a chain reaction. Okay, and during this reaction a huge amount of energy is released. Okay, so that huge amount of energy, here we have this heat exchanger, and it contains water. That huge amount of heat energy that is being released due to the bombardment of the heavy nucleus of the uranium or plutonium, that huge amount of heat energy is utilized to heat the water in the heat exchanger, which in turn converts water to steam, and this further runs the blades of the turbines, which is again attached to the armature of the generator, and thus electricity is generated. However, sometimes the energy that is being generated is so much more that cool water needs to be flown through this tunnel so that the energy may be kept, or the temperature may be kept in control. Okay, so what are the advantages? Now we have 4 nuclear power plants in India. One at Tarapur in Maharashtra, the other at Rana Pratap Sagar near Kota in Rajasthan, the Kalapakkam in Tamil Nadu, and the Narora in Uttar Pradesh. Only 3% of the total electrical power that is generated in India is obtained from the nuclear power plants, so it is very less. Now what are the advantages of using the nuclear energy? Firstly, very small amount of nuclear fuel, very small amount is needed, and that much small amount releases tremendous amount of energy. However, it is a chain reaction, so not much energy needs to be wasted for continuing that reaction. However, it is not a clean source of energy because many harmful nuclear radiations are produced during this process, and these radiations, they may ionize or different bonds in the human body, and that may in turn cause mutations in the genes that may be carried forward generations after generations, and the waste, most importantly, that is obtained causes a high degree of environmental pollution. It is very, very, very harmful for the environment, and also very much riskier for the environment if not handled properly. So in our everyday life we see that energy gets transferred from one form to another, and we even take part in the transformation of the energy from one form to another always. Okay, so again, during the conversion, it so happens that the full amount of energy that is getting transformed to another has some amount of energy getting converted to an undesirable form, and that is called the dissipation of the energy, and that in turn reduces the productive purpose, and that undesirable transferred form of energy is called the degraded form of energy. And with more such use of the transformations of energy, the degraded form of energy also gradually starts increasing. While the energy, so the gradual increase of the degraded form of energy also starts getting accumulated in the form of the radiation, or in the form of friction, or in the form of unwanted heat, and many such forms. For example, when we light a bulb here, almost 25% of the electrical energy, just 25% or less than 25% gets converted into light energy. The remaining part gets converted into the heat energy in the filament of the bulb, and also invisible radiation. So just imagine the bill of the electrical bill that we will get because of the bulb. Only 25% of that bill is used by us, and the other we are paying because of the degraded form of energy. Again, whenever we run a vehicle, those who have four-wheelers or those who have bikes, they may have experienced that a huge amount of energy also gets wasted in the form of heat, because the fuel that is being used, the stored energy from the fuel is, or the chemical energy of the fuel is not completely converted to mechanical energy, but a huge amount of energy gets converted into heat as well. So that is a degraded form. Again, when we cook food over fire, a huge amount of energy is also dissipated in the atmosphere. So there is also a wastage. Again, electrical appliances, when they are run on electricity, some amount of electrical energy is converted again to heat energy, which is undesirable. So in every or the other way, we see that there is a continuous loss of energy. Loss, why do we say? Because we do not use that converted form of energy, that is not useful for us. So that is why it is the degraded form of energy. So that in turn continues to increase. So in that case, we must also keep in mind while using any such things, any such appliances that runs or that involves the conversion of energy, because we must keep in mind that whenever there is a conversion of energy, there is also a gradual increase in the degraded form of energy as well. So we must keep in mind before using any appliances or such, to reduce or to minimize the accumulation of the degraded form of energy. So this is all for today's class. In the next class, we'll be studying about the greenhouse effect, or it is my suggestion that you may as well go through this part, that is the last part of this chapter, by yourself. And if you have any doubt, you may ask me. But these parts are all known to you, but you must remember all these points when you write something, or whenever question arises from this part. So the final part, give a reading by yourself and be prepared. And by the next class, we'll be starting with the new chapter, that is reflection of light. Till then, children, stay safe, stay healthy, and continue with your regular studies, because your exams are almost knocking at your door. Thank you.